Only. What's up, guys? ONLYUSEmeBLADE. This is your Sunday Chill commentary. I haven't done one of these in a while, but I feel that's not cool, man. That's not alright. So this game is called The Silent Age, and it deals with one of my favorite subjects, which is time travel. It deals with the concept of time travel. Now, time traveling is always something that I've been very, very interested in from a very young age. I remember I loved Michael J. Fox for the simple fact of the Back to the Future movies. Back to the Future Part 2 was awesome. I love that concept, and I like more so of the concept of going forward, using information that you naturally, progressively get, and going forward and using that information, rather than this romantic idea that time travel movies get, where they take information that you currently have and go back in time and try to use it. Now, here's the thing. I'm a rational person, right? And I'm also getting older, and I think that my quest or my natural positive energy that I exude has been met with a little bit of realism. And one realistic thing that I've come up with is the fact that time travel is impossible. And the reason why time travel is impossible is because if that was the case, we already would have changed. And this romantic idea that people come up with in time travel movies is always the same basic format. It's however they figure it out. They figure out time travel. They go back, and it's a tangent type of situation. And they go back and they try to change things, but either the will of how things work, things don't change, or you don't have that power, or you don't have the responsibility to make an assumption. It's not as simple as going, hey, if I would have stayed home that day instead of getting in a car accident. It's not as simple as that. The Butterfly Effect is a dark movie. I know I've talked about it a million times, but it kind of deals with that concept. It deals with the concept of going back in time, changing things, but then things end up getting worse. I.e., we shouldn't mess with we're not editors in previous mulligans of life, if that kind of makes sense. Because it's not as simple as that. It's not as simple as going back. I recently watched a movie, Looper. I finally got around to watching Looper, and Looper was pretty reckless with the whole time travel idea, because it didn't take into basically the physics of what the butterfly effect is, or the concept of what the butterfly effect is. It basically had this idea, well, if we could just go back and we'll get out into a field and we'll shoot people as soon as they appear, and nice, clean, it doesn't work like that. Now, because every single action out there in the world, whether we like it or not, has an effect of things, and it's the reason why things are the way that they are. Every time travel movie that I've ever watched has literally had that kind of effect. It's had the effect of, okay, we're going to go there and we're going to dabble in it, we're going to change it, but the problem is it doesn't work like that, because you're taking kind of a selfish approach. Now, you as a person, when they talk about your world, the way that you see the world, and you feel that the world evolves around you, that the only vision of the world, the only vision of your intake of the world, is how the rest of the world is centered around you, like somehow you're the main star, and everything else is basically, the entire world is just pretty much this play that's playing out for you, and you can make a choice if you want to have a huge part of it. And some people literally don't want to have a part of it. They just want to just kind of slide by, let the world basically burn in flames around them, and for them to watch. And the thing is, it doesn't work like that. There's like billions of people on just this earth, and we're all living on it, and we all need to like kind of coincide in some way, shape, or form. And the fucked up part about it is, in order for you to have an amazing life, in order for you to have an amazing time, a lot of times what that means is that other people have to suffer. I'm not a religious person, but like this whole idea of like floating up to heaven or whatever, and people asking you what you would want, the problem with that is that first off, that's a ridiculous concept. So let's just get that out of the way. And that's just me from being a rational person. If you are a religious person and you go that route or whatever, that's totally on you. That's totally cool. I'm just talking about from my particular point of view. The problem with it is if you were to ask, if you had a bus full of people, right, and you were to ask them, what would you want the most in this world, there's going to be conflicting things. There's going to be people that want conflicting things. So even though you feel like in your heart of hearts the world is around you and it's your world through your eyes, through your soul, through your everything, and you have certain characters in there that you associate with, certain co-stars in the movie you call life, like I've talked about before, at the same time, it doesn't work because everyone else is also filming a movie. So pretty much what you're doing is everyone's filming a movie at the same time, and we don't necessarily have control over it. Now, we can choose, for the most part, and I think this is a healthy, good thing. I think you can choose, for the most part, the people around you and how you want things to play out. But also at the same time, I think you're on a set path. You're on a set path from day one, and every story's already been told, if that kind of makes sense. And so you could sit here and you could freak out about it, and you can be like, fuck, I want to do this, and this person's not letting me do that, and just go back and forth. One problem I have is I don't really like talkers. Okay? I don't like people that just talk. They're like, okay, we have a problem, let's talk about it. And they sit there and they brainstorm and talk about it. At the end of the day, they don't actually do anything. It's just lots of speculation. And, like, think about this. If you have a problem and you spend 5 years thinking about this problem but don't solve it, then that 5 years that you sat there thinking about the problem doesn't actually mean anything. I love time travel movies. I loved them as a kid, but I think as I've gotten older, I've fallen out of love with the concept of time travel movies. And also, you guys have been kind of seeing less and less videos of me because I don't have the answers. I don't have the answers. I am just like you, basically pondering, going around the earth, pondering what the fuck it all means. And the thing is that I had some ignorant bliss in my previous years, kind of going, okay, I know what the fuck's up. But as I get older, and I'm 31, and as I get older, a great scholar once said, he's like, the older you get, the more you realize you don't know anything, which is fucking crazy, because you think that as you go along the journey, that you would be able to take more and more information in, and you would be able to use that information, life off experience, in order to, like, get things done. But, like, even I was watching another movie that has nothing to do with time travel. It was Pain and Gain, and it looked like a stupid movie, but I ended up watching it. And I remember seeing there's a detective in the movie, right? And he was like, yep, I'm old, and I retired, and I'm just doing my thing, I'm just living in Florida, and that's it. And I'm thinking, like, I don't ever want to be to the point where you know you're at the end of the ride. And that's why I think the two things that I've said this a million times before, I don't want to sound like a broken record, and literally I didn't want to reference the butterfly effect in this commentary because I know I've talked about that and I've gone to that so many times that I feel that it's become ad nauseum, and I feel that I'm perpetuating what I'm talking about, this idea of everyone just talking and pondering and thinking but not actually doing. In the movie Pain and Gain, there's this detective, and he's, like, super old, and, you know, he's gonna, you know, basically he's done good and done well in his life to the point where he can just relax and chill and be blissful. I had a blissful, this is the shit moment in my life, and then at the same time, I know I've talked about before, I did a Sunny Chill commentary about this before, where I said, where do we go now? You know what I mean? So everyone talks about how amazing the journey is, this and that, and you take it with you. I think you have to be delusional to be at a certain point and be like, yep, I did everything I wanted to do, I'm at peace, let's go. No. You can do a million things. But also at the same time, the concept of living forever scares the shit out of me too. There's two movies that deal with reverse time travel, and this is going to be kind of a spoiler alert, and I apologize if I spoil these movies for you, okay? Just click off right now. If you haven't seen the movies, what is it called? The Green Mile, and I'm trying to think what the other movie is. I can't think of the other movie right now. But in the movie The Green Mile, you think that the whole movie The Green Mile is about, you know, the situation with John Coffey, this big ass black dude that like can like take the badness out of you or whatever, right? Oh, the other movie I'm going to talk about is In Time. So In Time and The Green Mile are literally anti-time travel movies. It's taken it from a different approach. I once had a boss say, when I first started working at the bar, he asked me what the two numbers on your ID mean on a Washington State ID, and he said, you know, your license number, the last two digits of your license number, plus your birthday equal 100. And when I told him that, when he asked me about it, quizzed me on it, I told him that, he said, no, what you do is you take 100 and you subtract your birthday and you subtract your license number and it should equal 0. Now, I know they both mean the exact same thing, okay? But it's just the way that you approach it. Do you approach it from a time where you go, okay, now, after we've accumulated all this information and accumulated and know the end result, now what we do is we repeat that result. We go back, and we go back knowing what we know now and fix it, right? And that's what time travel, the concept or the fantasizing about time travel comes into play. You go, okay, simple thing is like the lottery. I know the lottery numbers. I'm going to go back in time and I'm going to use those lottery numbers so I can be financially well off, and that could be completely change my life. Well, of course, that would be amazing. That doesn't happen. Obviously, time is a standard, constant thing that never changes. Only your perception of the time changes. Now, the movies, The Green Mile and In Time, literally deal with the concept of like in the movie In Time, it was kind of a shitty movie. I have to admit, it's kind of a shitty movie, but the concept is mind-blowing, okay? In the movie In Time, you have basically this, like, time is currency. So on your wrist is how much time you have, right? So if you're very, very wealthy, you got, like, just centuries and decades. And if you're poor, you're literally living paycheck to paycheck, and you go to work, and you literally get, like, 10 hours, and even if you worked 8. And you're just barely struggling, and you get down, and then there's people dropping dead in the streets because, like, game over. Now, the issue is, so you have people, it's kind of the idea, have you ever, like, eaten a lot of stuff and been like, fuck, I'm so full? That's literally the opposite of people that are starving, right? And it's interesting looking at our point of view, and we go, oh my god, I ate the fucking 14-inch cheesesteak and sausage sub, and I'm so full, I feel so bad. And it's just like, there's people out there that are starving. So they might not grasp the idea of having everything you want and the spoils of it. Have you ever thought of the term the spoils of fortune? Literally, the spoils of fortune are that you're spoiled, that literally you have all this stuff, and now your problem is that you have all this stuff. In the movie In Time, there's a gentleman that comes down to the slums to meet Justin Timberlake, and he has like 10,000 years on his fucking wrist. And he gives him enough for like 10 minutes. He leaves 10 minutes for himself, gives the rest to Justin Timberlake, and then goes, and then pretty much just dies. And it's a crazy concept because the things that I'm the most scared of, and I've said this before, I don't want to repeat myself, but anybody that's been listening to an ONLYUSEmeBLADE commentary for a long enough time, the things that I'm scared of are dying and having a child with somebody that I don't want to be with. Basically, i.e. hating the mother of my children. Okay? For whatever reason, that scares the shit out of me. And I think that in a way, our reasoning behind time travel is to go back, knowing what we know now, to somehow live a better life. Because knowledge is key. We have zero knowledge when we start, and over the periods of time from when you're a little kid, as you grow up into your teens, into your 20s, into your mid-20s, into your 30s, you've accumulated all this information. But it's impossible to remember all that information. So you have to decide what information that you gathered is positive and worth it and good, and what information that you gathered was absolute bullshit. And so the problem is that we sit here and we ponder it and we go back and forth and we say we should do this, we should do that. Other people have plans for us. There's good people in our life, bad people in our life. And to tell you the truth, right now I'm basically reached a point where, like, I don't fucking know. There was a there's a kid, or I'm saying he's a kid. He's probably in like high school, or whatever. And he wrote me a message on my business email. Now, I try to read all comments. I definitely read all Twitter interactions. I read most Facebook interactions. But a lot of times people feel like it's tough for me to be able to, talk to him or whatever. And this kid, long story short, basically said that he was on the verge of suicide. And he listened to a Sunday Chill commentary where I probably smoked some weed, thought about life, shot the shit. And he said that he re-listened to that over and over and over again. And he didn't kill himself. So literally that person has the gift of time because he didn't take it himself. The movie The Green Mile, the movie In Time, which are literally the opposites of time traveling, i.e. instead of going back, you're basically allowing yourself to give you enough time to go forward and use all that information. It deals with that. It deals with the pain or the idea or the concept of immortality. Immortality is something that's scary as shit, but at the same time it's something that we all strive for, if that kind of makes sense. So I'm a rational person. I like listening to cool stories or listening to cool ideas or whatever, but at the same time I have to go, okay, well, we live in the real world, and how is this actually going to fit and combine? And like, I love the positive energy and the will to make something happen. I get that. But at the same time, you have to be realistic. To be as crude as possible, every time someone talks about YouTube earnings or whatever, or like a new network telling what YouTube earnings are, I never believe them because everyone's so vague and it's always a bunch of bullshit. And I just know that in the end, it usually works out in a certain way. Now, this concept that I've talked about of death, because I just don't know how that's going to fucking work out. And all I know is, and also with the ideas of suicide, I don't want to make light of anybody that's ever contemplated suicide or whatever, but like, I feel that the main goal that you have in this life is to go for as many high rounds as possible, if that makes sense. Your goal is to make it as long as fucking possible. Okay? I really like stories about people that live to be like 27 and do a bunch of shit in there and then they end up going. I think those stories are really cool, but it's not for me. I think there's a natural survival instinct in me that says I want to live as long as possible. Because if you watch a long-ass movie, if you were to watch a 4-hour movie, eventually you're going to get to the last 10 seconds of the movie and be like, nope, don't want it to end. So we keep going. We keep prospering. And this romantic idea that we have about time travel, about taking information and going back, it doesn't exist. And there's a part of me that goes, I understand that. I realize that. But also at the same time, I'm going nutty here, man. I really am. And I don't want this to be a pity party, but I don't know what's in the future for me. And I'm a little afraid or perturbed. And part of that comes from the YouTubes ain't kicking it like it used to. I'm not here to cry about it, but what that's allowing me to do now is to go, okay, what is the journey now? Where is the journey going now? So a lot of times I'll have crazy concepts, crazy ideas, crazy thoughts about what I can do as far as possibly opening your mind for. The only reason why I do the Sunday Chill commentaries is to sprinkle you a little perspective based off my experience, whether it be more or less than you have, and maybe you can possibly think it. So in a way, we are changing time. We are affecting things differently. So by the end of this, I literally talked to you for a whole bunch of time, the time that you're never going to get back. So that's kind of a fucked up troll if you really think about it. But maybe you're going to sit here and you're going to think about it and you're going to approach things differently. ONLYUSEmeBLADE. This has been a Sunday Chill commentary. Peace and buckeries. The game is called The Silent Age. It's free. They didn't pay me.